Welcome to Wednesday Night Live, a half hour earlier than kind of our normal start time. We've moved it around a little bit, but we're at 6 o'clock tonight. It is night in Lafayette or West Lafayette. It's been dark for 45 minutes. It's gray. It's nasty. It's starting to look like winter around here. I guess it's about time for that, considering, Tom, that we've had all this good weather of late. But we appreciate you guys, everybody joining us tonight, listening either on recording or joining us live. Want to thank our sponsor, Acre Pro. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists. With decades of experience in Indiana agriculture, no one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you, ensure the deal is done right. Kyle Spray, a friend of the show, we appreciate very much at acrepro.com. You can call him at 765-775-6502. That number again, 765-775-6502. All right, Tom, I guess in your life of watching Purdue football, you've been through a couple of these before, these one-win seasons, and Purdue looks destined for just that. Yet you did them the last two times as a sports writer in a different mode. But this year we're looking at that. It is amazing. We're in November, and there isn't a lot to talk about when we talk about the football game on Friday night in East Lansing. But we will start with that, at least initially. And obviously there's a lot of talk about and things swirling about the coaching situation and what may or may not happen here in the next week or 10 days. But let's start with the Spartans. You had a chance to learn a little bit more about them. This is a team that gave up a lot of points last week. They certainly don't look unbeatable by any stretch, but given where Purdue is right now, it's still going to be a steep climb for Purdue on Friday night.
Yeah, you know what? I think about a 13-point underdog, 14-point underdog against a Michigan State team that hasn't exactly lit the world on fire under Jonathan Smith. You know, they're 4-6. A lot like Purdue, they're kind of a program in transition. They've lost, I think, 3 in a row now, Alan.
Right.
I'm looking at it now, they've lost 6 of 7, 3 in a row. It's coming off of a 38-16 loss at Illinois. Got Purdue at home, and they finished at home against Rutgers. So there you go. Yeah. Spartans have a chance to get bowl eligible. You know, win these last 2 at home against teams that they probably have a good chance to beat. So they will not lack motivation. Have a pretty dynamic quarterback, Aiden Childs from Oregon State, who followed Jonathan Smith east. So a couple good linebackers, Cal Halliday, a good young wide receiver they're excited about. But yeah, for Purdue, you know, they're just looking for anything, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know where to start with Purdue. There's probably nowhere to start at this point. It's just been such a tough season, 9 losses in a row. I guess the defense has been the biggest just catastrophe, if you will, in the season of catastrophes. Has a chance, Alan, to set a school single-season record for most points allowed per game. Right now, they've got the record if they can hold on to it, Alan, for 2 games.
Yeah.
Giving up over 38 points a game. So, yeah, I'm not telling people watching this anything they don't already know, right?
Right. Yeah, it has been one of those years beyond compare. I think, you know, we compare the 93 and 2013 teams. The 93 team under Jim Coletto would have been his 3rd season, in a lot of ways was competitive. Not every game, certainly, but they were competitive in games. They lost to Notre Dame. I remember 17-0 in a rainstorm when it was 3-0 until the 4th quarter. I think Notre Dame scored in the last play of the game because Lou Holtz apparently wanted to score in the last second to make sure they had 17. But my point is, this has not been competitive, with the exception of, you know, maybe 3 halves. We're not, and we'll throw out the Indiana State game, but since that game, you talk about the second half against Illinois, maybe the first half against Nebraska, and then you can put Northwestern in whatever category you want to. I guess you'd call that game was competitive and went to overtime, so maybe I should give Purdue a little bit more credit there. But just been stunning on that standpoint. We didn't see this coming at this level. But maybe that's also an indictment of the, indictment is maybe not the right word of the world we're in. Purdue banked on a lot of guys coming in and gelling and making a difference. Some did, but a lot of them didn't. And that's been a huge problem for Purdue.
Yeah, let's be frank, Alan Karpick. For the most part, the transfers have not worked out.
Yeah.
And, there were guys who were obviously counting on to help ASAP. Offensive line, wide receiver in particular. I think there were 4 linemen that came from the portal, 3 wide receivers who came through the portal. And I think the impact has been minimal. Although 2 of the linemen have started, DJ Wingfield and Corey Stewart. I guess we'll call them solid, okay?
Yeah.
But by and large, the portal group overall just has not been that good. I think Kendrick Breedlove, the cornerback, he's been pretty good. And Reggie Love's been a pretty solid number 2 running back. And then you got your long snapper and your punter, Keelan Kremens. Maybe Keelan Kremens has been the best portal guy of all.
Yeah.
Has a chance to finish the year with the second best single season average in Purdue history, behind only Travis Dorsch in 2000.
Travis Dorsch, a watcher of this show from time to time, we hear.
So yeah, I mean, that's been tough. And you're right, Alan. You look at the fact that Purdue's not just losing games, how they're losing them, often non-competitive, often blowouts. And yeah, I'm looking at some of the scores from '93. You talk about 17-0 Notre Dame, 59-56 to Minnesota, an infamous game up there, 42-28 to Wisconsin. I guess my point being they got beat, but they weren't total embarrassments and getting run off the field. So something's not clicking, Alan. Something's not clicking. To lose games 66-7, 52-6. And I know some of these foes are pretty good. 45-0 to Ohio State, 35-0 to Oregon. It's just been, and even that Oregon State loss, 38-21, Alan. Oregon State is a bad team. Yeah. Look at their record now. And so again, it's we're at that point where we're at a crossroads 2 years into this thing, Alan. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen. I've sort of tried to share what I've sort of learned from various people, that things seem to be leaning toward Walter's return with the revised staff, with 2 new coordinators, with a senior advisor type of a guy who's a de facto head coach / analyst, and the coordinators will help shape the rest of the staff. Ryan Walters will take a step back, not have any real coordinator duties at all. So we'll see if that plan does come to fruition, Alan. I still think there's a good chance he could get fired too, and everybody gets swept out the door. But people wonder why. Why would you keep him? Why would you give him back? And we've written about this. We've talked about it too, right? A couple things. Number one, a lot of people think Mike Bobinski may have just one more year. The 25-26 school year could be his final year. Would he want to fire a head coach, hire one, then leave, and not have the new AD be able to hire his own coach? Maybe there's something there with that. I think maybe economics has a role in this too, Alan.
None of us sneeze at $10 million, right?
Yeah, $10 million buyout, and then you've got revenue sharing starting up next year, $22 million. How's that all going to work out? So I think, that's just the great unknown there too. So maybe there's some trepidation to writing that big buyout check. Some people think maybe this is a negotiating employed by Purdue. If you want to be a conspiracy theory guy, Alan, they're kind of daring Ryan Walters to say, hey, do you want to come back and do a position where you've been pretty much emasculated, where you're not going to have any real significant, responsibilities, it would seem, right? Overall, watching the team, do you want to be in that position or not? And maybe they're trying to get a negotiated buyout that's lower. I don't know. Somebody threw that out at me a couple of days ago. Maybe that's getting too deep in the grassy knoll, if you will. Anyway, it is what it is, and everybody's waiting for some type of response or some type of a directive from the people along Northwestern Avenue here.
Yeah, you did reach out to Mike Babinski, and obviously he's not ready in a position to comment. We had him on our show 3 weeks ago, making it clear that a couple of things that he said that money would not be the sole determining factor, and also that losing football is not an option. So I don't know what necessarily to take from that. Mike's got tough decisions to make, and that's part of the deal here. We get that. He also said to you what? I mean, basically, we'll see here in a couple, or after. It hinted, at least, if I read it correctly, that it would be after the Indiana game, where some complete determination, which makes some sense from that standpoint. But as you've talked about, time is of the essence. No matter which way you go here, you better make it clear whatever you're doing, because the transfer portal is open here in the first few days of December.
Yeah, the takeaway from the powers that be at Purdue are, like you said, Alan. Sounds like no decision is going to be made till after the Indiana game, which I guess for me raised my eyebrows a little bit. Why wait that long? Why not make an announcement maybe Sunday coming out of this Michigan State game? How about on Monday of IU week? Maybe you say, here's our plan for next year. Maybe not. But anyway, sounds like we may not really get any real definitive idea on what's going to happen here until after the IU game, which is November 30th. And like you said, Alan, time is of the essence. Transfer portal opens December 9th. Early signing day for high school kids is December 4th. Right. So that first week of December, man, I mean, whatever Purdue's going to do, if they're making an announcement after the IU game, then it's December 1st. I got to think whatever's going to happen, we'll hear ASAP. And maybe they'll have, if Walters is staying, maybe they already have the staff lined up. But, I mean, there's a lot to do here, Alan, in just a few days. And I'm sure wheels are in motion as we speak. But again, like I said, there's so many balls up in the air, not just with the staff. Then how is this going to impact the roster? Who's all going to go into the portal? On and on it goes. Sort of the questions just tumble out of your head the more you think about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And it does get to be, and they're tumbling out of our viewers tonight as well. Bob Williams, Walters is staying. We need, I think, we being Purdue, a serious talent invader, because one doesn't currently have an office. I'm guessing 90% assistant turnover. All conjecture there, certainly an opinion of a lot of people. I mean, that's the thing that's a real challenge here. And it seems to me for Mike Babinski, the Board of Trustees, et cetera, is it's hard to gauge how the fan base feels, but it's pretty clear that there is a high level of angst. I mean, that's stating the obvious here, that there isn't a great call right now among people we speak with, maybe in our world, for him to return. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're going to do. Again, there are other factors at play here. But talent evaluation, Tom, we talked about that, just the need to hit it on the portal. Now, I understand that Kurt Cignetti's situation is far different than what Ryan Walters was. He brought players over, though he did get a great quarterback, or a quarterback who turned into a great quarterback from Ohio University. But my point is, this is a thing you can't miss on that. And you would think if he stays, you've got to have some people that have already evaluated that and are looking down that, because how many guys Purdue took 24-esque guys last year? It's not going to be any different this year. So all those things bring into challenges, correct?
Yeah, I think there were 19 overall. You had a few walk-on transfers too, and it was over 20, Alan. And one of the not to continually reference Indiana.
Yeah, it's hard not to, though.
Which I don't like to do.
No,
but Cignetti's made that point of when he goes in the portal, he's over. He wants guys who have produced. He's not interested in where you come from. He doesn't care if you had an SEC school or a Big 12 school. Production, I think it was production over potential. That's what it's a production over potential. And a lot of times I think those guys coming up are just hungrier, Alan, than guys coming down. And, they're coming to a place like Purdue's a big deal for somebody from the MAC or from a D2 school or from a group of 5 school. They got something to prove. They're excited. It's a move up, or sometimes maybe a guy looks at it as a step down.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a payday for me. Just a thought, but I think there may be some truth to that. So yeah, again, the portal, in this day and age, as you know, you got to hit it. And I get the sense, Alan, that they're going to have money. I think the Boilermaker Alliance, from what I can tell, is still a pretty robust collective. It's never going to be of the same level as the upper level Big Ten schools. You know what? Even IU, I think IU's got a more robust collective.
Yeah.
You just have to spend wisely, right? And that's what you have to do. So yeah, boy, talent evaluation, like you said, is very key. And the thing about the portal too, Alan, is it's like, as people have always described it, it's speed dating. I mean, you got guys coming in and out in 24, 48 hours making decisions. Yeah. You really don't get to know people that way. You can look at their film, but you really don't know what kind of a person they really are.
Yeah, no question. Really hard thing to do. And I don't envy anybody in that situation because, it's that fine line of you got money one place and you've got to mix that with guys that can help you out and be as efficient as you can. And the other thing, that we've talked about, and it's so difficult, the July 1st beginning, supposedly, it's still not done yet, as to my knowledge, the House settlement, is that there will be a gathering of nuts and berries, or whatever term you want to use, prior to that date. There's already been some discussion about Michigan saying, well, we'll pay this for our quarterback, and those types of issues that really, as the run up to July 1st, is going to make a challenge, because all of that will be done prior to the 25 season. Now, I know that there may be some IOUs in place or whatever that ends up being. But it's just, I don't envy any of these guys. I'm not saying I feel sorry for them. I just don't envy their situation, because they don't have, I'm talking about head coaches. I'm talking about athletic administrators. It blows my mind right now trying to get your arms around this entire thing. And I think that's what those folks have got to deal with in terms of how to manage this situation down the road.
Yeah. Like you said, it's still not a totally signed off deal from the courts. And the schools in the SEC and the Big Ten have to move forward as if it's business as usual, and if that it is in place.
Yep.
It's all happen, which it will. Maybe there's some details that will change here, but I think they probably understand what the basic framework could look like as far as revenue sharing goes. So you're right. And then we talked about the collective, the Boilermaker Alliance, and I always think there's going to be a place for collectives, Alan, even with revenue.
Yeah, and I think there will be. Yeah.
Yeah, because because everybody's got. Everybody's got, it's like giving race car drivers all the same car. Everybody's got the same car. What's going to make my car better than your car then? The collective. And maybe I got more money to spend on extra things for my car that you don't have. And it's going to be like that in college sports too. Everybody's got $22 million to spend, as they will, on their athletic, on the student athletes. Then the collective is what's going to come in, and I think really be what continues to differentiate these schools from one another, is what they can pay some of these guys, Alan. And boy, the going rate, man, if you want like a good quarterback out of the portal, $2, $3, $4 million, and maybe they're underpaid at that, Alan, if you're good.
Yeah.
And it's the price tags probably make people's eyes pop out, but it is what it is, and you got to pay. I guess you got to pay if you want to have any chance to be competitive, really. And the one last thing I'll say about that too, Alan, was pointed out to me by somebody really close to that staff. When you have someone like Nick Scorton on your roster already, a proven stud, projected first-round draft choice, you know what Nick Scorton is already. He's on campus in your uniform. You've got to keep him at a place like Purdue. You may have to overpay for him, Alan, because you know what? At a place like Purdue, you're never going to get a guy like Nick Scorton out of the portal from another school. He's not coming to Purdue, Alan. A guy like that's not leaving Alabama to come to Purdue unless they're going to spend $100 million or some crazy fee. But it was pointed out to me that they've got, when the guys are here especially, they know they're good players. They've got to keep them. And I think we all knew the good players are on this roster. There's not a lot of them, Alan. 5, 6, 7 of them that I think you got to keep them here. Because it's hard to get really big-time difference makers to come to Purdue. It's probably always going to be like that. You and I grew up around Purdue. It's a great school. offers a lot of great things, but it's never been the sexiest person at the ball.
Yeah.
It's a place where you got to be smart with your talent evaluations and how you spend your money.
Yeah. Only way to get it down. Okay. Well, another question that what serious coordinator will join a so-called lame duck coach if that ends up being the situation? And that's a good question.
It is.
We've thrown some names out there that are possible, ones that you might consider folks that have might be at the end of the career, might be at the FCS or lower FBS level that would get a serious pay hike by coming here. Yeah. That might be one reason to do it. Anything else? I mean, we've talked about guys anywhere from Brock Spack, Dan Hawkins. You've thrown out. We don't know if anything's materialized necessarily with that. Though Spack certainly has the Purdue ties as the Purdue's defensive coordinator in a couple of different stints in West Lafayette. But what do you think from that standpoint?
I think why you would want to come to Purdue is a chance. I guess a chance to prove yourself again, right? And I think a chance to probably have a pretty good payday. I think they're going to pay these coordinators at least $1 million, which is going to make anybody sit up in their seat and take attention and pay attention. Maybe even get a 2-year contract.
Yeah,
if you're the coordinators at least. So I think those are a couple reasons why. We mentioned Mike Yursich a couple of weeks ago, who was the OC at Penn State, OC at Oklahoma State, OC at Texas, worked at Ohio State. He's out of work. Guy like that's got a pretty good resume. Pretty sure they've talked to him. A guy who came available recently, I'm not sure, I haven't confirmed if they've talked to him, but would make a lot of sense if he's interested, is Tom Herman.
Yeah.
He just got fired at Florida Atlantic. Now, Tom Herman shares the same agent as Ryan Walters. They're both represented by Trace Armstrong. Sometimes that matters because agents like to connect the dots and find jobs for their guys. That'd be a heck of a get if I'm a Purdue fan to get Tom Herman to come in as an OC. So we'll see where it all goes. Those are some guys that have at least popped up on my radar. And we'll see. Like I said, I'm pretty sure, Alan, too, that I know they've talked to 4 or 5 people. I keep trying to get names. Try. But we'll see. But I have been told that they have talked to 4 to 5 people already as far as the offensive coordinator position goes. Now, that senior head coach position, Alan, you talked about Brock. First, let me back up to Dan Hawkins. I was told that I guess Dan and Ryan don't have a real good relationship. So I don't think Dan would be the guy. But you look back at who Ryan Walters has worked for. He worked for Mike Stoops at Arizona. He works at Kentucky now for his brother. I don't see Mike Stoops coming here. Bob Stoops? Ryan worked for Bob Stoops 1 year at Oklahoma. I don't know Bob Stoops.
Not coming out of
no. Bob Stoops out there. Justin Fuente at Memphis, who was the Virginia Tech head coach. He failed. He got fired. Ryan worked for Justin at Memphis. He worked for Gary Pinkel at Missouri. Gary's retired. He's on the college football playoff committee this year. Worked for Barry Odom at Missouri. Barry's coaching UNLV, of course, now. So those are some guys, and he was recruited by Gary Barnett initially at Colorado. But Gary's awfully old now, too. So, again, you kind of first look to those guys, right? Guys Ryan's worked with, maybe trust, has a relationship with. None of them make a lot of sense to me. We talked about Brock. Brock makes a lot of sense to me. I think that would be, if you brought him in as an advisor, I think the fan base would like that. That may be one way to smooth things over a little bit if you bring Ryan back. We all know Brock's resume. We all know his love of Purdue and West Lafayette. We all know his history here trying to get this job. And you know what? If things would go south early next year, Brock could always be the interim head coach, too. Who knows where that would lead. But anyway, we'll see if Brock even gets on the radar, too, Alan. It's going to be fascinating to see what they do at that position if they bring Ryan back and they do make such a hire, which I'm told they will if Ryan comes back.
Why do I think we're going to be having this discussion next week as well, leading into Indiana, which we will. And next week we will be doing Tuesday Night Live, I think. Assuming your schedule is good because of Thanksgiving. We've got a lot going on, obviously, with that short week. We'll get a chance to do that. All right, Tom, great explanation. I know you've been all over this stuff. It's really even from a coverage standpoint, hard to know what is real. I guess we have to be patient, and we'll find out what direction Purdue heads and what they decide to do with that football program, because one thing we are in agreement with is the university deems it as very important. And the crowds this year at 59,000 plus was the best attendance since 2005. Impressive in its own right. We know that will be in jeopardy next year, one would think, even despite a good home schedule. But we'll have to be waiting and be patient a little bit on that one too. So Tom, crazy? Thanks. Go ahead, fire away.
There's yet to be a Power 4 head coach fired.
Right.
One Power 4 head coach been fired. We had a group of 5 coaches head fired. Southern Miss, Charlotte, Rice, nobody from
Tom Herman, right?
Tom Herman's another guy fired, but nobody at the biggest level. Mac Brown announced today he's coming back. There'll be some, maybe Arkansas will fire Sam Pittman, but it's just kind of interesting that no Power 4 school has yet to pull the trigger on their head coach. So just sort of an interesting observation.
Yeah, it's been the conventional wisdom that coordinators are going to be the musical chairs this year, just because of that. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
funny. More. Stay tuned. There'll be more of this, I'm sure, next week as we look ahead. I guess that's the term you use, looking ahead to the bucket game in Purdue and Indiana. And we probably will get a good discussion going about whether the Indiana is going to make the college football playoff. We'll know a lot more about the Hoosiers after that. I think you've been right all along. We've talked about that a little bit, that Indiana, I think, is in some level of peril if they don't beat Ohio State. You keep using the example, which I buy wholeheartedly. Is Georgia better than Indiana?
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said,
we'll see.
Yeah, there's I'm trying to figure out why Texas is so highly rated too.
Yeah,
Texas has done nothing.
Yeah,
they beat nobody. They're like 3 in the country in that poll.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works. All right, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks to all of you for tuning in today. Those that you caught us live, and those of you that have caught us on the replay. Wednesday Night Live, brought to you by acrepro.com. When it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists. You can call Kyle Spray in the group at 765-775-6502, 765-775-6502. I never did put the number up there, but there it is. If you want to give Kyle a call, he's done with being on the sidelines at Ross-Ade Stadium. Of course, Purdue's home schedule is complete. The Boilermakers head to Michigan State on Friday night. Then we'll have the Old Oaken Bucket game on Saturday, November 30th, either at 3:30, 7 or 7:30. I don't know about a night game there, but it could happen, very much so.
Okay, Alan, real quick. Last time I saw this in the game notes. Last time Purdue played its last 2 games on the road.
Ooh. I'm thinking 2007.
2003.
Oh, they called now because in 7 they went to what year did they go to Hawaii, and then they played. I must have missed it, but 2003, their last 2 games on the road. That would have been Indiana and Ohio State. Right. Also, those tough, brutal loss to Ohio State, second last week of the year. Then they go down to Bloomington and not play well. They had a kind of a hangover. They did beat Indiana in that one before going to the, I guess it would be the Capital One Bowl back in the day.
Georgia.
Yeah, so interesting stuff. And yes, 2 consecutive road games to end the season. All right, Tom, thanks again. We'll appreciate all of your info, and we'll see everybody next week on our Wednesday night. We're going to do it a Tuesday night edition because of Thanksgiving week, but we'll look forward to that as well. So have a great weekend, everybody.